So I'm thrilled about that.
So this cell tower ordinance is finally going to.
Get voted up and out and put in place. All of the changes to 1298 ordinance. So we're
So the
pleased about that.
community will have a say in where cell towers are located.
Absolutely, and actually the grid that we've created had a lot of yours and others input included, and so the separation are what were acceptable to neighbors, and that was extremely important to us, as well as the notification of the placement of a tower
Sure.
that's going to go out now to neighborhood associations, to Lansing Police Department to go out and be filtered to the neighborhood watches. So we'll get a lot more information, communication, and involvement, and that's what it's all about, so that we don't end up with people being in it uninformed and finding out in the last minute and being
Right.
left out of the loop. At Second Saturdays, we're going to deal with the North-South precinct and the combination, where we're at with that. Has a firm been hired? Has it not been hired? What's been said? What hasn't been said? What needs to be said? What does Third Ward want to see happen with the South precinct? Do they want to see one consolidated location? And if so, do they have suggestions of where? Would they want that one consolidated location over here on the south end or in another centralized area? We're also going to talk about the 911 system that we began to talk about, that is consolidation is being proposed with that piece, which we've had quite a bit of discussion on Thursday, and I want to bring everybody up to speed on that. We also are going to talk about, again, the modular home parks and legislation that is or is not in place, what needs to take place, what's happening when they're inspected, who does it come through. We've had one that got inspected and has quite a sticky situation, and we're trying to stay on top of it in working with Joan Bauer, because it's also in her district and her office, Mary Clark out of her office.
So this is for the folks in Lansing who have modular homes, and the issue is, do they fall under trailer parks, or are a trailer, or are they a regular home? Is that the issue? Or?
Actually, the issue is the state's regulations, and do they go far enough? Do they cover some of the very specific things that we have to deal with here in Lansing, as far as does the trailer have to sit back separated 4 feet from the others when we've got a pre-existing park where
Sure.
they were not established in that manner?
Sure.
If that's not the case, and that's what they're being governed by, or an ordinance or a law that is in place since 1953, then what do we need to do to make sure that it is current, and that those that were pre-existing are either grandfathered in and worked with, so that they're not penalized because they started and missed the mark before they ever put anyone in one of the homes.
Sure.
So there's a lot of issues there, and we want to bring people up to speed so we can be supportive of our neighbors over specifically in the Riverview Estates neighborhood. And we've had good representation from that neighborhood
Right.
organization at our meeting. So we definitely want to continue that conversation. So we've got a pretty good agenda, and then of course we always take comments from our neighbors that want me to be up to speed
Right.
and informed on what their issues are and what the concerns are and how I can help. So we've got a good little agenda, and we'll move forward. We're also going to discuss whether or not we have a holiday party and combine it with our second Saturday meeting for December, which will fall on the 13th of
Sure.
December.
Sure.
Or if we cancel it because people are going to spend time with their families and do other of their own personal celebrations. But we'll discuss that and let it be the decision of the group.
Now, tell me about the consolidation of the North and South precinct. Is that an issue that's coming from the administration? And what are the different scenarios? Moving the South precinct, moving the North, or is it all on the table?
It's all on the table right now. To do a study, actually, a feasibility study on where do we place it. Are there pre-existing locations? Some have suggested some of our vacated buildings, like the previous Home Depot out on Cedar. Some have suggested moving the central location closer to downtown, moving everything to a location further north. at this point, we've got officers that are assigned out in the north that are being given assignments over in the south, and vice versa. And it's just not, at this point, I think, smart not to have the discussion of how do we consolidate this and have our resources, especially as we have obviously um, resources dwindling, that we're able to utilize some other consolidation
So the
possibilities.
issue is money.
One very big issue, we have $500,000 in contracts on the buildings that we're leasing right now.
Right.
And we certainly could do something different in bringing them into under one roof.
Right.
But we don't know where that would happen right now. We don't know how much it would cost. We don't know what the needs are. And I think at this point, looking at that study would be important.
Sure. Um, Other issues that the radio issue for the police department. We had a police officer come to a meeting here, and he said that really is not resolved yet. Is that what you hear?
First time I heard it was from Officer Bach, and I went back and very specifically addressed Chief Alley and said, I'm hearing that it's not resolved. You reported out to us that it was in
Right.
fact resolved, that it had been tested in apartments and schools, churches, and open fields, and that
Right.
we had it resolved. Um, what we were given just on Thursday was a new report that I have not had an opportunity to read all the way through. I glanced through it, but I like to look at things thoroughly. That says crime is down, officers have the resources they need, and all is well. Well, when we have an officer say that the system that they're using still is riddled with problems, then I'm yet concerned. So I talked to a lot of my other colleagues on council, and we're all asking the same question. What else needs to happen? What do we need to do to make sure that this is truly resolved? And I have not heard back from Officer Bach and or any other officers that I've asked. If you have any further problems, let me know. And I have not been made aware that there are additional problems post my having the conversation with Chief Alley. But I'll be staying on that because it was on the record when we had a cow meeting out on the floor.
Right.
So it'll be very easy to say, we asked this at a previous cow meeting, so I'd like to do some following up on it, as well as I asked Jerry Ambrose, the chief of staff for the mayor's administration, what they could do and where we were at with it, and have yet to get a response. So we'll stay on it.